Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Welcome back to Musically Sound Music Review Show. On this episode, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. This album came out in 1970. It's the second album by the band Black Sabbath, and it is also one of their top five, we will say. Before we get into the album, a little background. Black Sabbath formed in 1968 in Birmingham, England. Following the breakup of the band Mythology, guitarist Tony Iommi and drummer Bill Ward sought to form a heavy blues rock band. They enlisted bassist Terrence Geezer Butler and vocalist John Ozzy Osbourne, who had played together in a band called Rare Breed. Osbourne, having placed an advertisement on local music shop, Izzy Zig Needs Gig, has his own PA. The new group was initially called Polka Tulk Blues Band, the name taken either from a brand of talcum powder or an Indian Pakistani clothing shop. The exact origin is very confusing. The Polka Tulk Blues Band included slide guitarist Jimmy Phillips, a childhood friend of Osbourne's, and saxophonist Alan Aker Clark. After shortening the name to Polka Tulk, and the band again changed their name to Earth and continued as a four-piece without Phillips and Clark. Iommi became concerned that Phillips and Clark lacked the necessary dedication and were not taking the band seriously. While the band was performing under the Earth title, they recorded several demos written by Norman Haynes, such as The Rebel, Song for Jim, and When I Came Down. The demo titled Song for Jim was in reference to Jim Simpson. Jim Simpson was a manager for the band Bakerloo Blues Line and Teen Symphony. Tony Iommi worked in a machine shop, and this is probably something that's maybe little known to some people. I know it's widely known that on the day that he was going to quit to focus on the band, he cut the tip of his fingers off in a machine. Now, I can kind of understand how that feels, having done that myself. Albeit just one. But in 1968, the advancements in surgical procedures were not as far. He was given basically plastic tips, and they took the skin and sewed it over, and so he has fake fingertips, which led to him changing the tone of his guitar and, in a sense, creating the sound, the doom of heavy metal as we know it. Tony Iommi is also known as the riff master. He seems to have an unending supply of guitar riffs at his beck and call. Back to the album, Black Sabbath, Paranoid. I mean, that cover of the guy running rampant through the woods and the blurred vision with a sword, in a sense, says it all. As I said, the album was released in 1970. in September. It is the second album by the band. The first album basically setting the tone for them, and it is currently celebrating its 50th year. The album starts off with War Pigs, which is an unbelievable anti-Vietnam War song, all about the evils of politicians and how they start the wars, but we, the lesser peoples, have to finish them. And if there is any doubt as to how good of a drummer Bill Ward is, just listen to this album and focus on the drums. Pay attention closer to the drums than everything else, and you will definitely see how underrated Bill Ward is. Paranoid. The name of the track says it all. This is a blatant song of paranoia. Can you help me? Help me argue with myself? It's pretty self-evident. Track 3, Planet Caravan, is the one qualm I have with this album. It's a psychedelic nightmare. I don't care for it, never have. Track 4 is Iron Man. Pretty much, if you listen to the lyrics, it's kind of a take on the character, but then again, it's not, because it's more of a different type of Iron Man. I am Iron Man. Electric Funeral, a heavy, doomy blast of metal. Just a great, utterly great song, followed by Hand of Doom. This song and the majority of the first album are, I feel, are pinpoints of what spawned the doom metal genre. Bands such as Sleep and Hell on Fire draw their strength from that early stuff that Black Sabbath created. Rat Salad, just a great instrumental track, followed by the closing track, Jack the Stripper, and Fairies Wear Boots. You gotta believe me. This album I came across in, I believe, my junior year of high school, after seeing the Icon episode on VH1, documentary about Black Sabbath. I had known of Ozzy. I had heard some of his solo work, but I never knew about Black Sabbath before that point. After this, I was at the local mall with my sister, and I picked up basically a box set from FYE, and it contained Paranoid, the self-titled album, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, all absolutely stellar albums. And that was my introduction to Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, as we know, would spawn the career of Ozzy Osbourne, and basically jumpstart the solo career of Ronnie James Dio, who had formerly been of Elf and Rainbow before joining Black Sabbath in 1979 to replace Ozzy. The 3 albums that he did with Black Sabbath are, the 4 albums, because the 4th was done under the name Heaven and Hell. But those 3 albums of Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, and Dehumanizer that Black Sabbath did with Ronnie James Dio are excellent in their own right. Also recommend checking that era out. Also, the Tony Martin records are great. Cross Purposes, Forbidden. But Black Sabbath, without a doubt, I would call them the fathers of heavy metal. With other influences such as Blue Cheer and Mountain, and obviously Cream and Led Zeppelin. But this is excellent album. It's slightly better than the first album. Not quite as good as the third album. And I recommend it. I give it an 8 out of 10. Go check it out. Black Sabbath Paranoid. If you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, tell me why in the comments. If you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. And in the meantime, get out there and listen to some music.